Hello and happy 4th of July. This is my sociological issue presentation. And I want to start off with what I chose as the sociological issue was the moral reasoning. In the film that I chose to cover moral reasoning was The Warrior. How I perceived this issue throughout the film and how it's portrayed, three major spots that I saw it in. When they were younger, finding out what decisions they had to make, from Tom being the youngest one, when their parents split up, or when the mom decided to leave the dad, um, deciding to go with the mom, and then two, Brendan being of age and having his girlfriend, which who becomes his wife later on in the film, deciding to just move on with his life and starting his own family. That was the first one. Second one was the decisions that Brendan has to make in order to save his house, and as he was struggling financially, and deciding to fight, uh, and something that's he wrestled with the idea with his wife, and ultimately decided to go all in, as it was going to be a way for him to provide for his family. And then for Tom, um, almost a similar reason, being able to provide for a promise that he gave his fallen comrade from the Marines who passed away, but making that promise to his widowed wife and family as well. And then lastly, the the very difficult decision at one point in time in the movie, where Brendan has to decide as well with Tom, that they're not able to work their differences out, or they're passed out, and decide to fight each other. And last scene where Brendan really hurts his brother by breaking or dislocating his arm, and not seeing the ethical reason to even continue the fight, and where the brother Tom is so far gone in rage that Brendan has to defend himself, and almost you can ethically, um, you can give it an ethical reason to finish the fight, and in the form and fashion that he does it, it's kind of the best possible way that it can be done, I guess, given those circumstances. Um, two of highlighting two of the components that were presented in my paper. One, the background and history. I definitely love the history aspect, and always referring to Coakley on how Aristotle was the one of the principal bases of ethics, where he really discussed on utilizing ethics in our motives and in interactions. Um, it can be either good or bad. There's nothing really in between, and our motives and intentions are actually what drives our final actions. And each interaction we have with a person, there has some kind of moral consequence. So whether it's not necessarily consequence meaning always bad, but there's a moral consequence that can mean good as well. I thought Aristotle, for being an amazing philosopher, on how you can really think that deep into what goes into ethics, what goes into your motives and intentions, and what ultimately goes into your actions. I thought that was one of the neatest things, and to to be a philosopher from quite some time ago, and that's still paying relevance today and wrestling with those ideas is very phenomenal. And then the second one was history, not the history, the identification of a problem. So one of the problems that I identified was how society at the end of the day is going to deem what's ethical in the sport, or given the political, sociological, and economic nature of what society deems as, hey, this is what we're doing. That's what brings the sports of like MMA, football, all contact sports to where they're at today, and the commercialization and sponsorships of those that encourage that as well. Um, kind of, I mean, we're no different really now than what we were in the Roman Empire, when the days of the Colosseum, and then even researching to be able to see in the days of the Colosseum where Christians were persecuted or thrown into those kind of events, having slogans like "Hey, Christians to the lions," and put in the situations, but still having Christians disguise themselves in robes or in manners in order to be able to still enter the Colosseum to see and watch the events and watch those events because of what the society at that time deemed not per se ethical, but what was happening, what was the popular. Everybody would go to those events, um, and that's definitely one of the problems. Not only then, but we see similar problems now. And then takeaways, finding intrinsic value. I think that was one of the main takeaways that I saw in the film. Um, uh, seeing yourself from within, and then um, not only with skills and talents that you continuously have and acquire, but kind of what pushes you through certain thresholds, um, and at the end of the day, wrestling with those ideas and making sure that you're making the best ethical decisions that you can. And that goes to my last takeaway: reflection. um, is asking yourself, is it ethical? Is what I'm doing in the benefit of not only myself but everyone else around me? I thought the takeaway of constant reflection of, hey, am I dealing with the issues that are front and center, the most important to me, or am I avoiding those issues? And is that kind of leading my decisions? And going back to Aristotle too, what are your motives and intentions? And each interaction with a person has a moral consequence, meaning it's something that's not only going to affect you but others. Um, that was the biggest takeaway too with the film, and seeing those two brothers of that family wrestle with the concept of moral reasoning for the decisions that they have made, the decisions that they made, and then leaves you at the end to really be hopeful of the decisions that they have in front of them and ahead of them, and that's what we got to. Thank you very much. I appreciated this class. Very deep, very insightful, and prompts my study in what goes on psychologically for um, athletes, and everybody around sports.